Okay, this is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. This is the Kentucky Assembly's Part 2 orientation. Uh, you call it week 2, but we haven't, the last one was on Saturday, so it hadn't quite been a week. So it's Part 2. We welcome everybody on. Most everybody here is status corrected, I know, guaranteed to say that for the record, but I will um, briefly just want to recap because as I went through some of the recording of the first orientation, it's kind of like golf. If you ever played golf, first hole you get out of the car, rushing to get your tee time, getting warmed up. So first hole's always the beep. So this one here, I'd like to go back as we start. I just want to do a brief recap. And as we do a recap, I want to correct the record from the first recording because my intent was good. My mind was on what I was saying, but my mouth was not on the same page. um, for instance, like in the first 6 or 7 minutes, I said that we were the employees and they were the employers. Um, just on the record, I would like to take those issues and improve on them because the intent behind these recordings hopefully is to put on maybe the info website, and we need it to be pristine. We don't need any to be any faux pas. Um, I know y'all can all understand that fact. So as perfect as we can get it, hopefully we can use these recordings to build better infrastructure. So with that said, I'm going to screen share. Can y'all hear me all right? I feel like I'm talking soft, but it's comfortable to me. I'm a Larynx.
Sounds good here.
Okay, thank you.
Same here.
Okay, like I said, this is just going to be a brief recap so we can lead into part 2, kind of kicking off where we left off. Let me go down here and do this little snazzy trick right here. All right. So if anyone was to want to take the lead on this, you would do it, or you make sure your recording's on. And we're going to ask people to put their county and name and county in the chat or as a username because that's how we run our meetings too. And then the Bevins Declaration was a little different. You all saw it was a little bit different, but I kind of put that together with this being an outreach product, so to speak, because we're sharing it with the general public, that's United States citizens and status corrected Americans. Because keep in mind, once we get enough populace on Kentucky, this business / government that we're creating is mainly for status corrected Americans. Our courts are for us. Our businesses are for us. And it's a privilege for United States citizens to take part. And I say that with honor, and I welcome everybody to that. Let me go back to here. So this Bivens Declaration, just a brief recap. If you'll notice here, it says no one can attend any of our meetings in secret or in private, but they can attend our meetings. Okay, and that's General Assembly and our specifically geared outreach meetings that could be requested by members of the assembly. Because keep in mind, if you status correct, doesn't mean you're automatically a member of the Kentucky Assembly. All right. So I want to point that out. We just ask, we all live in honor, keep the peace, and uphold the public law. We want to know who we're talking to. That's all it amounts to. So moving on. And like I said, as we do this recap, I just want to make it known that as people watch the first part 1, I do misspeak And I can't sit here and take everybody's time and correct those individually, though I would love to, because that's how mm, meticulous I am with words, and words matter. And that's kind of the military indoctrination that I went through. Uh, Everything's literal. You don't speak in tongues, so to speak, in the military. So with that said, we're just going to skip on through. We're going to go to the pop quizzes all through part one, and we'll just do a brief recap. What is the difference between the 928 paperwork and the 1779 documents? And as before, this is not, if you'd like to answer, just speak up, or if you have something to say, just say, may I? If somebody could watch the chat and the hands, that'd be awesome. So what is the difference between the 928 paperwork and the 1779 document?
May I?
Absolutely.
The 928 is a series of different forms and more in depth, and the 1779 is a one page.
Absolutely. So in this PowerPoint, thank you, Bob. It's right on. So the 1779 is a quick way to get back to the land and soil, and coincidentally, just to kind of pinwheel on that, the 1779 is something that you can do, that persons can do through the Global Family Bank. Status correct. Publish it on the Global Family Bank LRPS, and then get a bank account set up. Okay, and so to be a member of the assembly, the extra step would be to come to us. Now this is precedent. This has happened here recently. With a few people, they've come to the LRPS or the Global Family Bank, and then come to the assembly for the LRO, the benefits of the LRO. So saying that, the 1779 can be done on the LRPS by the man or woman themselves as they set up an account, or they can be done through the normal recording and publishing process that we offer on the assembly. And the 928 document bundle, on the other hand, cannot, as far as I know. Excuse me. I think the Global Family Bank's intent is to be able to take a 928 bundle and put it on the LRPS by the man or woman themselves through their account through the internet. And as we know, the internet's changing, and HANA and the Federation are working on trying to head that off as the past, so we can still have an operating system that is not Microsoft Words, that is not all this, not even Linux. So, okay, I went off course a little bit, but yes, thank you, Bob. And keep in mind that the 928 bundle, the way to describe it to friends and family if they hung up on it, is the 1779 document, 2 witness forms, and the birth certificate. That gets you to the land and soil. That gets you your sword and your shield, if we're talking in non-honorable ways. But you know what I'm saying. The 928 bundle package gets you your helmet, your full body armor, for you to be able to actually do due process on third-party debt collectors, all kinds of, the whole works best on third-party debt collectors, and unsecured debt works like a charm. But as far as getting deeper into the pirate ship, so to speak, and dealing with the pirates, it's a little bit more difficult. It can be done. Okay. Next pop quiz. What publishing options are available to everyone?
May I?
Yeah.
Laura and Jefferson. Well, you just went over the LRPS on
LRPS.
the Global Family, and then we got the LRO. And people do newspapers still too, so you can publish in the newspaper.
Yep.
Lots of ways to publish.
Yep. You got to be creative. Thank you. So the two that are actually noted and recommended are the LRO, the LRPS. But you can also self-govern even further and try to go to the county clerks. I've heard Jefferson County. I know there was a woman, excuse me, Bullitt County that went to Jefferson County and had her paperwork published to the county clerk. So after you published your paperwork, is there this feature here? Any other documents you need to complete? So after you've published your paperwork, is there any other documents that you need to complete?
It depends on what bundle you did for starters and your own personal situation. But yes, typically there is more. Like we did the lawful marriage. And there's that attestation to live birth that you can get from the doctor and criminal reports. But it depends all on your personal situation.
That's the key thing with what we all do. Thank you, Laura, is a self-governing feature. My self-governing is different than Laura's self-governing, which is different than Anita's self-governing. So everybody's self-governing needs are different, though there are recommended notices that the living law firm has created, and to separate ties and make it known on the public record, which we are transparent men and women, but we live private. Okay, that's one thing that people get hung up on. Is just because we've status corrected doesn't mean that we are above. I don't want to say that above the law. That's not the right terminology. But going on, the declaration of political status is recommended. And it's recommended to do that to DC, Blinken. And I made the fact, say his first initial and his first name or his last name fast, Abe Lincoln. So, and then the IRS letters, those are the 2 or 3 recommended that you do, because definitely if you're paying IRS taxes, then they can still U.S. citizen you because you're paying taxes. But there's been people that status corrected that still pay taxes, and that's their self-governing option. It's all about the individual rights.
This is Tom on Shelby, man.
Absolutely, thank you.
What about the revocation of the voter registration? From what I understand, that's a key critical part as well, because if you're still on their rolls as a registered voter, that's basically saying to the de facto that you're still on maritime jurisdiction and you're willing to participate and play in their sandbox. Is that correct?
That's absolutely, yep. That's absolutely correct. The voter registration you can only be on their voter registration if you're a United States citizen. And I would hate for me to check every other check box and then be able to come behind my 6 and get me because I'm still on a voter registration roll. But also, yeah. Also, what we're getting at, and thank you for bringing that up, is that kind of stems into the whole American state national status versus American state citizen status. These documents and notices are streamlined for everybody for a multitude of purposes. One is for our standing in provenance, because as we status correct as men and women and establish our standing in provenance and get our dog in the fight, whatever jurisdiction we're in, right? So status correction is one part. The other part is learning jurisdictions and what you can and can't do in those jurisdictions. Because keep in mind, Anonymous says this, 8% of the federal code still pertains to us. Post offices, can't carry weapons on post office because it's posted. But staying on the rails, these notices and stuff is just a streamlined process. You could type your own stuff. Go ahead. But why would you when all this stuff is streamlined, ready to go? And it's just a way to help you prove to the corporation, not to any of your peers, not to any of us on on the assembly or even on Kentucky that's not participating in the assembly. But it's to protect you from the corporation. So when we do business on the state, then our state citizens are the ones that take the word of the nationals and the work that they've come up with, and they present it to the state legislature as employers. I got that right this time. As employers. Take, for instance, driver's license. Perfect opportunity to peacefully step in, especially right now with them being so bankrupt. Stepping in, because I don't know if you have paid your registration within the last year. It's a circus. But anyway, it's a perfect, just one example for us to go to them as a body politic, as a body of men and women that have established their standing in provenance. We have record of it. We keep record of every man or woman, whether they participate in the assembly or not. We have record of status and standing, and that gives us our status and standing to be able to go and say, hey, we are not interregnum or whatever it is. We're here. We're discussing issues, and we'd like for you to come to the table. We're here. Okay, so thanks for bringing that up. Sorry to be long-winded, but that stems directly to the ASN and the ASC thing. Because ASNs, if you just want to operate as American State National ASN, then you really don't. Your 1779 declaration and your 2 witness forms is good enough. It's good enough for you to receive a prosperity account, and that alone. What else would you need? You wouldn't need the corporation for anything. So it's self-explanatory. Anybody else got any comments or questions? So I guess in a roundabout way, Tom, to answer your question, not just are there just the Declaration of Political Status and the IRS letters, there are other notices that do need to be done, and those can be checked off on the TASA website at Correct Your Status and then Chart Your Course after that. And then also we recommend Max Taylor as a service provider to do documents. And when he does that, he'll give you a checklist. He even prepares the notices for you.
This is Tom, Mayor.
Yep.
Yeah, I just got my wife to agree to have her paperwork done. We're gonna use Max. So I'm about to submit her stuff to him. You.
Nice, dude. I know how big that is. Nice.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I really just wanted her to get the GFG, bank account going, and for her to be status corrected, of course. Yeah, she was agreeable to that part anyway. So, you.
That's awesome because it's a rescue mission. And we want everyone we love to be on board. Or not on board, but off board. On the land. So nice, Tom. Congratulations, brother. All right. So we'll move on. Another pop quiz. Now I'm just scrolling through. This is for the recording. I know y'all get it, but I just scrolled through part 1. We're doing a brief recap with the point that if you go back and look at part 1's recording, there's some stuff that I, as the moderator doing this, misspoke about. So we're just going through and catching the particulars. All right. Let's see. What did I do wrong? When did the Great Fraud begin and what caused it? Now, this is a tricky one. This is kind of a loaded question. You got to look at your timeline, okay? And think about what we're doing versus what the creators did, or the creators, I beg your pardon, forefathers did. When did the Great Fraud begin and what caused it? I kind of gave it away there when I got happy fingered.
Great fraud began in the Garden of Eden.
Absolutely. But speaking of the piracy, the inland piracy, uh, it began when in 1861, when the actual states, the actual de jure land and soil jurisdiction states. Keep in mind, at that time, we were going. I'll say we because it was my forefathers. It was your grandparents. We were going to a corporate congress and representing the land and soil jurisdiction. But there was other at that time. Red is it a red hair? No, it was it's all semantic deceit. So they were acting as, but were not, didn't have the standing in provenance. So the fraud began in 1861 when they walked out and opened the door for Lincoln and them to come in without the technology that we have these days, to come in and just act like nothing happened. Because what happened in Vegas stayed in Vegas, more or less. What happened in Philadelphia stayed in Philadelphia. And so they just went right along. So that's 1861. And then if we go to the next one, I think I'll cover it. If not, somebody, let's see, 1861 and then 1863 with the Lieber Code, right? Put the military in charge. I don't think that this is the way that's going to go. So we'll just roll with it. So the next question on the kind of reiteration is, what is the Federation? The Federation set up as a holding company of international and global jurisdiction of the states. So they are pretty much speaking, we give them the authority as the states. This is how it was created. Right now, we're working it backwards. The Federation was who we gave our power to in the international jurisdiction for them to speak to the Queen, the Pope, for them to do business for us and provide the enumerated services. All right. They're responsible for calling the states into session, a general guidance to help stand up to states to protect all Americans working and reconstruct our lawful government. So that's what I meant by working backwards. They called us to assemble, and we're kind of working the puzzle backwards, putting it together through the pieces that we got. Right now, I would say we're putting the corner pieces, the edge pieces together, getting a basis. How are the states called into session? How were the states called into session this time? Summoned by the United States of America unincorporated under the hereditary head of state. There were 3 ways, and this is the one that we nailed, or they nailed. Okay, part 2. The thing that I want, let's see, what I want to go over that was kind of squirrely that I thought was pertinent evidence was this part right here. Right here is the timeline. This is okay. So it says it began in 1861. So of course we know they walked out without a date to reconvene, and that's why we set up a date to convene at the end of all of our meetings, even on your committees, okay, and on your pillars especially. You keep quorum this way. You can show the corporation quorum. We are not just coming and bringing out stuff out of our butts. We are talking about issues, and it's an ongoing discussion. The adjournment of the Congress was Sendai. We know that. Okay, so on March 27th, 1861, Lincoln went to them and told them how it was going to be, and the Southern and the Georgia states said, "Nope, we're gone. See you later." And then, not even a month later, that's key because it shows that it's premeditated, for lack of a better term. On April 15th, Lincoln reconvened Congress under the executive branch, General Orders 100. So I want to make that known. Go check that out. Okay? Because if you put that with the law of peace, it speaks for itself. The law of peace. Okay? So we've pretty much been in a state of martial law ever since. So the propaganda media, the QAnons, the whole Trump train, all those British-backed propaganda outlets, they got it half-assed right.
This is
Okay.
Tom, Shelby, man.
Yep.
So, see, I want you to check my math here and see if I got this right, because this is really helping me to understand it, and I hope it's right. So there were the three real branches of government were the federation, the territorial, and the municipal. And they were all legitimate, and they all had contracts or constitutions. And so what Lincoln did, so when the states walked out in March of 1861, there were only two branches of government left, right? The territorial and municipal. And so the federal, that was run by Americans and operated by Americans, was gone. And what was left was a British government and a Holy Roman Empire government. And I think that is like you were saying, that was pre-planned. That was the plan from the beginning, based on Francis Bacon, the New Atlantis, all the Freemasons. I think that was the plan from the beginning. Do I have that right? I yield.
I think you're spot on as far as I know. Now keep in mind, I'm just Justin on Lincoln County, but I track the history pretty good. And that's one of my benefits to the assembly. Everybody has their benefit, but that's what I'm tracking. But it wasn't just, you got to keep in mind, these people, I won't even call them people, but they're all about greed and commodity. So at the time, the commodity was cotton. They had to make their cotton in Egypt through slaves. Well, we did too. I mean, but our cotton was premium, and their cotton mills burnt down. Egypt's, they couldn't. So we, being the Americans we upped the price. Seriously. And we got what we got. We got ours. I mean, you know what I mean? And so they hated it. So they invited Britain, invited France, and they invited Russia to the party. And Britain and France had, I think they had the East and the West blockades, and Russia was supposed to come up either from the north or the south, and Russia said no. And that's the only thing that kept us from being just totally wiped out. As bloodline. So yes, the timeline is correct, and I'm getting ready to share something that I used to share with everyone. Give me just a minute.
Yeah,
And
Bobby Graves talks about the cotton, the video that you shared with us Saturday.
Yeah, that's why the history, to me, I don't need to know all the legalese that come after it, because that's not what I'm going by. And that's what our initiative is to restore everything to where it was at, and let the legislature know that's in there now, that the citizens are voting on. It's not really, they're doing a popular poll. I mean, honest talking about it. It's not even them that's putting them in there. It's already been pre-planned. They know who's going to win this one if it even goes off. But what I was wanting to get to was I don't know. I kind of had a brain fart because I'm trying to find this. But the history is so key to knowing, because that's what it was. We're to restore, and so we're to restore it, and then start going over the corporate state constitution. That's why the state constitution, when everybody gets on these litigation calls and all this, and they start quoting state constitution and KRS and all this, that's stuff that our courts go in, and when we talk about nullifying stuff, that's what we're talking about. So our state courts are going to be busy. Okay. Okay. So timeline is key. And so thanks for Tom for just clicking this in my head. I put into the chat an awesome timeline document that I got off a podcast, the SGT report one time. And it's got some Supreme Court case law that you can show people. I know one time I showed this to a person, And they're like, who typed this up? I was like, what are you talking about? This is precedent. This is supreme. This is a law of the land, as far as I know. Oh, anybody could have typed that up. There you go. Use. All right, let's stay on track. Let's not poke fun at them. Okay. That's pretty much what I want to reiterate was the timeline and the actual timeline. It wasn't just 1863 and the Civil War, and it was actually before 1861. But where they got us, the parasite that was moved from England all over the place is moving to China now, according to Anna. That's where it got us, was 1863. Okay? That's where we stepped on the tapeworm. Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to has been over part one, kind of thought about it, wants to make comments for everybody else that's going to see this? Any questions on what we gone over? Okay. So back to the screen share and the PowerPoint. Part two, here we go. The Assembly's mission and you. At this time, I'm going to ask for volunteers. If you'd like to read a couple of these, as I go through, just say, hey, I'll read or whatever. But this gets into where we're at. Okay. We went over the how to get here and we went over the history. Now, this is Assembly mission and you, jurisdictions, and what are they? Because people, jurisdictions are key. Let's just take my role as martial arms, for instance, okay? I'm down to individual rights when it comes down to the General Assembly. If it's a phone call, a text group, Facebook, whatever, I have no jurisdiction whatsoever. But me being elected and seated and having that on record by people, men and women that have status corrected, then I have jurisdiction over the General Assembly, and that's it. Not nothing outside that. Emails, okay? So that's what it means by jurisdictions. It's not just their court term. It's something that we need to know. When we talk about outreach and education, it's not, to me, and I don't want to step on no toes, but I'm going to say it. It's not about us waking people up. It's not about waking your wife up or your grandparents or even your mom or whatever. We're not the ones that we should be worried about educating. We should be worried about educating our populace and reaching out to the status correct. This is my opinion. Status corrected people already through our outreach and afford the United States citizens time. But if they're not willing to listen, then don't, just give them their 2 to 5 minute. Here's what we do. Give them a business card or whatever that the militia's coming up with. And let's focus on outreach and jurisdictions to our populace. Because if we can teach our populace that, then we all benefit. Okay. Original call to session by the Federation. The best of my knowledge, the Kentucky Assembly was called or was started to assemble in 2019. There's some members that were part of that are still around. I know Joe Hayes. He was one of the founding members. I don't know if he was a coordinator or I think he was a coordinator, but oh crap. And then the Kentucky mission. So here's what we're going to go over. Original call to session, the Kentucky Assembly mission statement, and the 3 jurisdictions that you need to know. There's others. It's according on what title you're going to take. Because if you go back to that legal person versus lawful person document, then we have commandeered our ship and dry docked it through our document process. Okay? We're still able to operate in what they give us. And what they give us is not much. But the 3 main jurisdictions that you need to know, I think we all know what they are, but we'll go through them. The Reconstruction begins. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer to read this?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Be it known to all to whom these presents come, that there is a lawful and legal means provided for Texas and every other state to assemble, and that means of lawful and peaceful assembly requires the process to take place under the authority and guidance of a recognized summoning authority. Article 3232. The owner of the Great Seals, the hereditary head of state, James Belcher, called the states into session, which is the United States of America, our unincorporated federation of states. This was the only possible means left to call the states into session.
Thank you, Laura. And then I just want to make it known as we go through this, when it states Article 3232, that's not talking about their articles and US code. That's honest articles. Okay? So when it says article and it gives a number, that means put that on your radar. Go check that out. When I first got into this, when I first got onto the litigation committees, it was always being recommended. I know that it's not highly recommended to start at the beginning and work your way up because they have moved the cheese so much that stuff's changed, stuff is streamlined. But I was always recommended to do articles 1 through 10 to get the ground floor. That's back in 2014 when she's 15, one of those 2 years when she started writing articles. And that's when the brass tacks was coming out. So Article 1, it was always recommended read Articles 1 through 10. And I was like, where do you find that? Where do you find that? What US code is that? And they're like, no, not, it's honest Articles 1 through 10. So thanks for reading that, Laura. Any other comments and questions? So we kind of went over that in part 1. The Reconstruction begins. Is there, Laura, you want to take this one too?
Yeah, you got me taking a drink though. The responsibility of calling the states into session carries with it the obligation to ensure the assemblies created are peaceful and composed of qualified people living within the borders of each state. From there, provide discipline, framework, and guidance to establish on each state a general assembly, a business international assembly, a jural assembly, public court, and a state militia assembly. Those that have declared and recorded the redemption of their birthright political status are considered qualified people.
Boom. Our populace. Thank you, Laura. I just want to point out when it says General Assembly, a public court, that's key. That's key in remembering why we're here. And I say that because I've seen it. I've seen it. There's people that get status corrected and they think they can just talk to other men and women like crap. Seeing it with my own 2 eyes. We are public. Okay? We have natural and unalienable rights, just like the man or woman we're talking to too. Okay? I'm sorry if that seemed kind of not to go together, but to me it does. Everything we do is public. Okay? And then when you get to international, that's a little different situation. Okay? And then the qualified people is our populace. Kentuckians, Californians. If you're gonna step up and serve as a state citizen on the assembly, then if you've relocated from another state, it's a year and a day before you can declare as a state citizen. But you can. The Reconstruction begins. The Reconstruction is in the progress and not given to interpretation. All right, so it is in progress. The Federation oversees the legal and peaceful nature of the state assemblies that result from the Reconstruction. Otherwise, our activities could be mistaken as hostile actions and be legally suppressed by military force. Can anybody look at that and tell me that that is the prime reason why all these other groups are not working? The Colorado 9, the recent one, the January 6th one, the Oath Keepers guy. Because the Federation has established itself in the international jurisdiction. The Federation oversees the legal and peaceable nature of the state assemblies that result from the Reconstruction. Otherwise, our activities could be mistaken as hostile actions and be legally suppressed by military force. Prime example is what happened in DC.
This is
But those
Tom.
people, yeah,
Yeah, what was the question I was gonna ask? I lost my train of thought. Sorry. It'll come back to me.
once the Kentucky Assembly is fully seated, the Federation will step back from its current oversight duties. So that means that we, you, Tom, Anita, Bob, Laura, who else is on this second call? That's about it. We and everybody else that comes after us now, we are the ones, after we get seated like Ohio, are the ones that come up with the ideas, can make it happen. Well, we don't come up with it. The people come up with it. But we, as the elected people and volunteered and vetted, we're the ones that bring it into fruition, kind of.
This is Tom, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember what I was gonna ask. So the District of Columbia, the United States, the corporate entity there considers the individual states to be foreign as far as it's concerned. Is that kind of what this hostile thing is about? Because they look at the individual states as foreign countries. Yeah.
So best I can understand it, they are in a state of they're their own city state, foreign to our land and soil, and they are in a constant state of martial law, military, mercenary conflict. So, because we have not been recognized by the Federation as fully seated, now I could be way off on this, but this is my interpretation. Because we have not been recognized by the Federation as fully seated, if we don't stay under the umbrella of the Federation at this time, then they have every angle to come at us to try and get us caught up and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of my understanding of it. Thanks.
The whole, it's kind of messed up, man. So the way you put it, yeah, it's kind of basically what the way it is. They see us as what is it, Laura? We're peaceful non-combative stuck on the battlefield. Is that what you, something like that you have in your email?
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
non-combative, peaceful. We
Yeah.
have I have no beef with the maritime or the territorial law. It doesn't say beef though. It says I'm not in combatment or whatever with them.
Yeah, so
May
when
I-
we come, go ahead.
This is Anita on Meade. I was just gonna extend on what Tom was saying about us being aliens, but it seems kind of strange when we're being called aliens within our own country, but with the territorial and municipal law or the territories, we are alien to them. But I'm looking forward to when we can be all and not be called aliens, but maybe do that. But the Americans are aliens to them. It's their government. So I yield.
I think I got the gist of what you were saying. You were breaking up quite a bit. You'll see if you see the recording, Anita. But I get the gist of it. And it reminded me of something, but it slipped my mind. So it's our duty to uphold the peace and the public law. So that's what it was. When you say their law was foreign to us, that is our out, because the 11th Amendment states, which has been ratified by the states. You know, it's like the 12th or the 13th where it kind of gets cloudy on what was ratified and what wasn't. So the 11th Amendment states that we're not supposed to know foreign law. We're not supposed to take our time out of our day, out of plowing our fields. Keep in mind, I'm talking as creators and forefathers that created this thing. We're not supposed to. You all do your thing in DC. That's why we allotted the land to you to do that for us. But what they have done has extended out to our states with district courts and their carpetbagger courts. And what those were was when the generals and all the your higher officers, colonel and above, they stopped being officers and was judges. They started being judges. And it was inviting their cronies coming in. Look, I got this racket going down here in Georgia. Come on in, get you some land and everything. So it was just, they gave the power to the military, and they just run rampant. That's why we have district courts out in our land and soil, when we're supposed to be able to walk into DC as Americans, because we're the employers. We're supposed to walk around and check them out. But everybody that was there didn't know anything about being status corrected. So they're being tried as United States citizens, which is still foreign to DC.
Yeah, what I was trying to say was, they call us aliens within our own country. So, but with their jurisdiction, we are alien to them. I yield.
Yep, thank you. Any more comments, questions before we move on? So keep in mind, the theme we're going on is the Reconstruction begins. We're not starting from 2022. We're starting from 1863. Not literally. Okay. Come up here. Let's go. There we go. Nope, that's backwards. Go forward. Pop quiz time. What is the duty of the Federation relative to our assembly? No, we'll just go through.
They're
go
our
ahead.
overseer. They're our umbrella. They keep us safe.
Right. Until which time that we are able to keep ourselves safe as a state, as a nation state. Okay. Anybody who would like to volunteer to read the Kentucky Assembly mission statement?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Our Kentucky Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction state and county court system, serving the people of Kentucky, I'm assuming. The preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, the upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. To these ends, we, the living people on Kentucky, have called the eligible Kentucky nationals and electors to assemble, and we have established the process and procedure, qualified jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities.
I know that rung a bell with everybody, especially with being in it as long as you have. What can somebody tell me when it says the living people on Kentucky have called the eligible Kentucky nationals and electors. Who are the electors?
The citizens?
Thank you very much. The people that forego their sovereignty for a brief time. That's what it is. It's no popularity contest. It's business. So you're being a state citizen, you are in the public eye and you are talking, you will be rubbing elbows with legislators, sheriffs. You are spokesmen and spokeswomen. And that's all we are. I can say we because I am a state citizen, as I have to be to serve as state marshal at arms. But when you're going to step up for that, then that needs to be known. And then another one, right here, we have established a process and procedure to qualify jurors and other competent to host state citizenship and public office. Notice it has state citizenship and public office. That means, in my mind, that you don't have to necessarily to be a state citizen to hold a public office. I could be wrong on that, but an example would be a recording secretary. Doesn't necessarily have to be an American state citizen. It's recommended to be, so you have that jurisdictional leeway. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, how do we preserve the national trust? Just by coming back, right? Because we get our estates back.
Right, by doing our land patents, by taking our public, our vehicle, our motor, whatever they're called. I can't keep up with the terminology. Taking our four-wheel automobiles, we're taking our automobiles out of the state trust, and that's part of getting a state citizen body together to go present the information that the nationals and the other state citizens are coming up with on the driver's license issue. So that's how that's what you, I think that's what you mean, Laura.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It says there state citizenship with a capital C. I just read an article detailing that on that Constitutional Commando website. I don't know if y'all familiar with that, but that's pretty good. And he was showing how in the 14th Amendment, the C is lowercase for citizenship. In the Constitution, I think it's Article 2, it talks about, and Article 4, it mentions citizenship of a state, but in capital C. And so my question is, electors, I read that a sovereign, it's called, anyway, I read an article that mentioned electors and how there's a difference between capital E and lowercase e electors, but I'm not real clear about that and just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't know if that needed to be a capital E elector because you're a capital C citizen.
Yeah, I think that's a typo, just like of the Tennessee. So I may have misspoke of where I got this. I could have got it from Tennessee. I think on the part one, I stated that we got it from Ohio, but that is the same principle. To kind of answer your question, yes, there would be a capital E elector for international jurisdiction, and you would know that that would be a state citizen because those are the men and women that can go international on behalf of the state. And a lowercase elector could be a state national on the state in the General Assembly. So, I'm just going to chalk that up to a typo, and they didn't kind of cover all the bases. Maybe it should have been lowercase electors / uppercase electors to cover nationals and citizens. But there again, that's why the jurisdictions are so important. Because though we do business on the state, there's those that need to do business on the international level on behalf of the state. And when I say state, that means the people on the state. Because without us men and women, nothing has any value. We're what gives everything its value. We are what gives Kentucky its sovereignty. Tennesseans are what gives Tennessee its sovereignty by being sovereign men and women. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, and I'd like to add that I think that's another reason to get rid of that voter thing is because an elector is what we're going to be when we're assembled and we have our pillar. A voter, the same article was mentioning that a voter votes at the polls. It's like a popularity contest. You're voting for who you think is popular and who you like. The elector, the electoral college, they're the ones who actually choose who's going to be in office. They just look at the poll, the popularity contest, and see who you guys like, but they don't give it any weight. And so I think that's a important part to be able to verbalize to somebody and say, hey, this is the difference between an elector and a voter, and what they do and what we do. You.
Yep. Because the people run the show. You know, and even I'll go a little bit further, even their electoral college. I mean, they may look at the popular vote, but it's all in who's filling their pocket is what decisions they make. To me, that's just my opinion. I mean, yeah, I think the Democrat Republican Party are all just overpaid lobbyists. They're just the two top lobbyist corporations.
I agree.
By design. When we know in our system we don't have political parties. We're all men and women first. And I chose to step up as the title of State Marshal at Arms. And I only have jurisdiction when I'm within that title. When I'm on your General Assembly, I mean, I guess supposedly I'm supposed to be, but I would like to say I'm just a Lincoln Countyan, you know, and offer up ideas and what knowledge that I may have or whatever, just like everybody else. It's all just titles. That's I'll put a pitch in for the Sovereign's Way. It's an expensive course, but they used to offer 2 free modules, and just those 2 free modules, I got the gist out of it to be able to uh, know that it's just all titles. When I get up in the morning and I set my feet on the floor, I'm Justin the man. And when I walk out and get in that truck and I step foot on the first job site, that's when I become Justin the master electrician. And that you can use that for everything. And that's a good key into, hey, do I have any dual allegiance to any other foreign thing? Can I be a state citizen? Right? Is what titles you hold. If you don't hold any that are obligated to a foreign agent, then you're good. Any more comments, questions? Moving right along.
Belinda has joined us. Hi, Belinda. And somebody else too.
Yeah, who is that?
Keith.
Hello.
Belinda and Keith.
Oh, welcome, Keith. Welcome, Belinda. I've been rambling so much, we're not too far into it, so.
Sorry, I had to go pick up somebody in the middle of nowhere and I couldn't get my phone to work, so I was just able to join.
It's all good. Thanks for getting on. Okay. So we just read the Kentucky mission statement. Thanks, Tom, for reading that. And be sure to, I can't see if it says anything above that or not. This screen share here says, be sure to remember we are all working toward a common goal. Notice they put that at the very top. We are all equals working toward a better future. We are all, it's kind of poignant that Keith and Belinda showed up right now. We are all equals working toward a better future. We are all volunteers at this stage and not anyone's employee. The golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated, i.e. with respect, decency, and understanding. I don't know about you all, this one right here, this third one, this understanding is kind of a typo. I would say understanding. But that's key. just changing the word. I think that's out of the respect, decency, and understanding. I think this is the one that we can all uh just take time to see where each other's coming from. You know what I mean? And then work from there. Any other comments, questions on this slide? Go, and then the common law is pretty much, in my opinion, the golden rule. Come on. Okay, consider this. Why are you here? Is it to build a better future for all Kentuckians? Will you do your part to reconstruct the lawful government we are all owed? Even when obstacles, bumps, and scrapes come your way, this is a question that on the final knowledge review. Even when obstacles, bumps, and scrapes come your way, these questions are things to ponder in your daily life as you grow in knowledge and discernment and self-governing. Oh crap. As the famous saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. I'd like to just add my 2 cents on that. I think we're all united in the Creator. So I think the unity is there. I think we need accountability is what we need at this point. We need for those of us that have stood in truth, no matter what. And it says it in the Bible, it'll come. But we need accountability. We need people to see where they've been wrong so we can all come together and work towards being better. That's just my opinion. Any other opinions, comments, questions?
This Tom and Shelby,
Yep.
isn't that the Kentucky state motto? By you?
Yeah, united we stand, divided we fall. I think so. Let you say that. Anybody else? Right. Pop quiz. How should we conduct ourselves during all assembly meetings? Golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. Respect each other. And here's a key thought too. I've heard this debated out. Treat others the way you want to be treated. This one guy said, what if I want to be treated like crap? Does that give me the right to treat others like crap? What do y'all think about that?
No. The golden rule is meant to help people actually within common law. It was one of those things that was created to
Right.
help common law.
Exactly.
So if you want to be treated like crap, then you can go pay people to treat you like that. But in the real world, the way I always tell my kids and everybody else is when you're at home, you get to do exactly how you choose without no recourse or nobody else's input. But the moment you step out of your home into the public realm, you should not do anything that impeaches on anyone else's right to live free or to enjoy their life in their way. And that doesn't mean you can't offend people, because just in the way you talk might offend somebody. What I'm saying is you shouldn't go out of your way to treat somebody with disrespect or tell them that you're walking around in a thong because that's how you want to, when they have a 3-year-old that's looking and going, mommy and daddy, what's that? So common sense prevails, and that means golden rule. You treat others the way you want to be treated, or the way you want your daughter to be treated, or your son to be treated, or your mother to be treated. Just think of it in that way. That's how I put it to my kids.
This is Tom, may I?
I mean,
Yeah.
That guy who wants to be treated like crap wouldn't be allowed to operate inside common law, because to
Thank you.
operate common law, you have to have the mind of God, and God doesn't operate like that, treating yourself like crap. So he wouldn't be
Amen.
allowed.
Yeah, I just put that out there. I thought it was funny. So thank you all for correcting me. One thing I thought was really cool about the common law, learning about it in the book that you're reading and you're going over in your General Assembly, Tom, is that Everybody's seen the show Vikings, or some type of Viking show. I know The Last Kingdom was a good series. Especially now, know what I know about the history of it. But common law is what the Vikings went by. Can you believe that? Them men that would just rape and pillage a village, they're gonna go by common law. That's how they kept the peace in their what I can't even recall what they called them, but then you got the Roman law that comes in. So that was just my 2 cents on it. So thank you all for correcting me on that. Anybody else? All right, we're gonna move on. Ready for the hard part? Air, sea, and land jurisdiction. That's not hard because we've been in it. But everybody wants to say that's what the law acronym. I think through what I've seen, that's just kind of a selling point to people that want to make money off this thing. It's just one of those things that it's a common sense thing. Land, air, water. Okay, if we put it in the right way, we can spell something with it. Okay, but I tend to believe it's the creator, air, ecclesiastical first, sea, then land jurisdiction. Whoa, I just spilled my water. But not in that order. Okay. So how about a little quiz? Which one of these go together? Anybody want to take a stab at it?
They're correct. Pope, air, municipal, sea, British Crown, territorial, land, people, federation.
Too easy. Thank you. Answers. The Pope is over the air, the British Crown is over the sea, and the people are on the land. Let's see why. In 1302, the first and largest express trust is created by Pope Boniface VIII, the Unum Sanctum Trust. This was followed by the first testamentary trust, 1455, the second testamentary trust, 1481, and the third testamentary trust, 1537, by the popes of the time periods. Why is it?
On that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all know what Unum Sanctum says? Unum Sanctum, if I'm not mistaken, the Pope basically claimed ownership over every soul that was born on the planet.
Yep.
Now you.
That's exactly right. And no, there's nobody there to tell him any different. So it just stuck. And that's pretty much what happened. And that's why the Pope, all the air commerce, air is thoughts, ideas, patents, LLCs, corporations, all that is air jurisdiction. Any other comments? Oh, wait a minute. I beg your pardon. The trust was separated into the different jurisdictions, air, sea, and land. Let's review the difference of jurisdictions and the varying law forms. Don't do that. Pop quiz. Am I missing something here? Nope. Pop quiz. Why are there 3 different jurisdictions of law? Answers on the screen. Pope Boniface VIII started the separation of jurisdictions in 1302. Later popes created other trusts that continued the separation of jurisdictions. Air jurisdiction. The air jurisdiction is global in nature and controlled by the Pope and his appointees. Air equals Pope equals municipal. Things associated with the jurisdiction of the air include living and dead souls in the form of trusts, wills, patents, ideas, global in nature. So sorry for soapboxing that one. Any comments, questions? Moving right along. The air jurisdiction. Air jurisdiction law is made up of the following: Roman civil law, Slavery, all capital letter names, ecclesiastical in nature, and harsh punishments. That's why I've heard the conviction rate in their Roman capital law system is 96%. Uh, I heard one thing. Well, I can't even quote it, so I don't even go there. The Pope represents a duality of Christianity and the Holy Roman Empire, not holy. The maxim, let him who would there, that's exactly what I was thinking of right there. Their maxim, a maxim of their law is let him who would be deceived be deceived. It's still in effect because it's duality. You know, duality was created. There was a guy, I can't remember his name. I've heard this through this study, this whole walk that I've been on, that at a certain period in time, duality was created on purpose. There was a guy that went back and took a dictionary and took every word and made a multiple meaning out of it. Duality. And that's what we're living in.
This is Tom, may I?
Yes.
One of Todd Doyle's favorite words is syncretism. It's kind of like duality. And syncretism is basically taking scripture, a little bit of scripture, and adding a lot of bit of doctrine on top of it. Where in Deuteronomy chapter 4, God says, "This is my word, don't add to it or take away from it." But that's kind of like what you were talking about the Vikings. You know, they took some of the really good stuff of common law, but added a bunch of other garbage to it. And I think that's kind of like duality, what you're talking about there.
Yep. Throughout history, the cultures have taken the common law and made it fit. And it's worked throughout history. So thank you for that. Any more?
Just let him who will be deceived is so unscripturally to be going in with a Christian. You know what I mean? The Pope shouldn't be deceiving people. He's in an education role. He should be educating people. I yield.
Yeah, but to gently push back on that, there is no Pope at this time. The Pope seat died with Benedict, or died with the last one. So there's no king of Britain or whatever. I don't even know. And there's no Pope actually right now. So there, and the Roman, I would hate to be a Roman in the Roman Church right now. A Roman. Sorry about that. A Catholic in the Roman Church right now. Oh, I'm horrible at these things. Any more comments and questions? All right, moving along. See jurisdiction. Everybody good with the air jurisdiction? It's what Anna describes as that's where we're at right now at the stage of the battle, if you want to call it a battle. She's conquered the sea and the Admiralty. Now everybody's retreated to the air jurisdiction. Nobody wants to take the titles that they've had for so long. They've retreated to the air jurisdiction to try and throw everybody off the trail. So here we go into the sea jurisdiction. The sea jurisdiction is international in nature and controlled by the British monarchs. Sea equals British Crown equals territorial. Those under the jurisdiction of the sea include a capital, all caps, U.S. citizen, resident, taxpayer, all vessels, mariners, sailors, merchants, creators of the sea, international, and nature. Sea jurisdiction. Again, the sea jurisdiction is made up of admiralty maritime law that apply to vessels on and in their jurisdiction. So I mentioned this in part one, the Bowery bonds. I think that might not be right, but basically the gist of it is what they did is they created fake ships and manifests and logs like they were actually ships, insured them, and then wrecked them on paper and got all of the insurance benefit. Well, they did that scheme with us, living men and women. They created us as vessels. They created the duality terminology as a doctor and then a doctor. It's just crazy. Any comments, questions? So private law, that's sea jurisdiction law has private law, international law of the sea, attorneys, corporations, debt entities, and commerce. That's what they've taken trade away from us and forced us into international commerce instead of international trade. So private law is generally what they operate in, contract law. Okay, land jurisdiction. Land jurisdiction is national in nature and was given to the Spanish king to control in the original trust. The Spanish king gave up his control of the trust of the land jurisdiction back to the people. After the Declaration of Independence, Americans gained control of the land jurisdiction. Land jurisdiction again, land equals people equals the federation of states. The jurisdiction of the land includes all resources of the land, people, animals, plants, and minerals. Land jurisdiction is owed to public law, which is a form of common law. This is a question on the final knowledge review. Its lawful foundations include common law, Geneva Conventions, Constitution, Mosaic law, Declaration of Independence, and common sense. Pop quiz. Who oversees the air jurisdiction? Pope or Roman civil law? The Pope, Roman civil law to be correct, as it's seen on the screen. Who oversees the sea jurisdiction? The British Crown, Admiralty and Maritime Law, or private corporate law? Who oversees the land jurisdiction? Oh man, it didn't give an answer. You might give me
We
an answer.
do.
Huh?
We do.
That's right. Okay, additional information for study on jurisdictions. The Granabites videos is really good, but I think it is video 2. She keys in on jurisdictions. Okay, and then I put all those into the description box to the YouTube link of part 1, which you can find on the website, the Kentucky State Nationals website. It's under resources and research and resources. I shared the link. Before the next class, review all the attached docs with class 1 PowerPoint as well as the information in the PowerPoint. Review on his book, You Know Something Is Wrong When. I think I put a link to the playlist on YouTube on the description box, the last link. And that's a real good one to share with friends and family that are kind of on the fence. Maybe not if they don't even want to listen to you, but maybe on the fence. It's a good book to share with them. Think about your personal mission statement as an American state national citizens and create one. Anyone that wishes to share it next class may do so at the conclusion of next session. So we can roll with that. If anybody wants to create a personal mission statement, I would say a people mission statement as an American state national or citizen, and create one and bring it to the next one. Be cool. Review, let's see. In summary, the Belcher safeguard put in place by the founders allowed the assemblies to be called into session after a long slumber. That put it lightly. The Federation has oversight until the Kentucky state is fully assembled to ensure the protection of all Americans upon the land and soil. Everyone needs to consider why they are part of the assembly and why they corrected their status. And then the 3 jurisdictions. Air equals Pope equals municipal equals global. Sea equals British Crown equals territorial equals international. And land equals Americans and equals national. That leads us to a nation state. All right. I think we're coming to the conclusion. All attendees are encouraged to reach out to any of the mentors to help or questions as they are needed. So this one, keep in mind, we're building on this. We're hope to be building on this. And anybody who wants to be a mentor, maybe a coach. I like to term it as a coach. Think about that. You don't have to make it known now. Just think about that as we build upon this orientation. Because I'm thinking maybe, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is something that we make a video and then we give to people, or I don't know, kind of the interaction is good. So resources, more information can be found at audubonrights.com, of course, or the search engine, search Audubon Rights, the TASA website, the state, this is the Join Your State Assembly's website, educational information. That's really good. A brief report. And then while we're on this, I want to bring something to the table right quick. And I was scrolling through just the basic one we give out, which is audubonrights.com. I don't know if you all know the treasure trove this website is, but I want to share with you in case you don't know. If you do, I apologize. And to me, best I can remember, it was this morning. Best I can remember, this is just goes right along with our assembly process. So let me screen share. And I will be quiet. We can open the floor up if you'd like. Waiting for it to come up. Here we go. Of course, a blog right here, you can keep up with their articles. Okay. But if you go to this by topic, here you can find links to her books. So if you're wondering how to find her books, or if you want to put somebody onto a book, send it to this website right here. Boom, click on that link. It takes you right to the ordering form to that book. Same thing here. Then when you get to here, look at all this. Birth certificate discussion, part 1, part 2, everything, birth certificate. America's a corporation, state owns your children. Birth certificate. Notice to the convert. Passport fraud. Then they got United States citizenship. History of the fraud. Self-appointed judges. Jurisdictions. Sorry to go high pitched on you. Court system. Look at the treasure trove, foreclosure, licensing. This has all been on the website, I think, since it was created. And I'm not pointing it out to you like trying to rub your noses in it. I just found it just in my research from this stuff. Where can I put out information? So I'm going to try my best to put these links to this type stuff in this next description box of this part 2. But check this out. Not only is it by topic, you can order your books right here too. All right. Civil flags you can get here. Okay. That not only that, spread this. And then last but not least, the documents. The Northern Trust Corporation. That's key. Military Law of Peace, General Assembly Handbook, Title 50, Southern Relief and Remedy, criminal incident report form can be found here. So I don't know if everybody knows that, but it's stuff that gets looked over because this website, in my opinion, is just pitched because of the blog. This introduction here, she just kind of says, hey, here, this is why I'm here in this. So, and they've also updated the TASA website. I won't take up time and go through that, but the TASA website, I didn't like it. I do now. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. So if you haven't seen it, go back over it in a while. I'm going to yield. Anybody else want to say anything?
This is Tom on Shelby. Hey, thanks, Justin. That was awesome. Awesome to see that. That was good stuff. I've got a website I want to share in the chat. It was from Paul Stramer's website at the bottom of that jury info link, and I clicked on it a couple days ago, and I meant to put it in the chat, the General Assembly meeting, but I forgot. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. It's got a lot of information about the jury. So that was at the bottom of Paul Stramer's website where he sells silver and radios and whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned that because those radios he offers, they'll work and they're cheap. So if you don't want to go top of line, all that stuff, they're pretty good radios. So thanks for that. Thanks for putting that in the chat. Okay, as far as timeline, I hate to spread it out, but I think at the next class, let's see what the date is. Today is the 2nd. We don't have nothing scheduled for Tuesdays the rest of the month until the General Assembly meeting. So I could do the 9th, and then on the 9th, we would just have to schedule the next one from there because I'm booked on the 16th. Okay. So if we can just do the next one on the 9th, I'll have the next set of slides prepared. So just for the recording, we just went over one PowerPoint presentation, but broke it up within 2 nights. Okay. So the next one, once I go through it, I'll see if I can break it down to an hour and a half a piece, because that kind of works out 7 to 8:30. So for right now, everybody just, if you want to mark it on your calendars, there'll be recordings, so don't worry about it if you can't make it. But right now, I'll plan on making time available for Tuesday the 9th to start part 3 of this PowerPoint that I got from Tennessee, not Ohio. All right. Same time, same bat channel.
Thank you, Justin. I learned a lot.
Well, thank you, Anita.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm gonna stop the recording and I'll offer opportunity for, we ain't been together since last General Assembly. I know we had the militia and the General Assembly meetings, but I'll stop recording. We can chit chat for a minute if y'all'd like. If I can figure it out without ending the call. Zoom has changed on me.